Hey guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It's 9 o'clock, which means it's time for a Talk Magic. Now, today I am here with probably the single most requested interview ever since I started this channel. Everybody has been asking for an interview with this person. I have known him for a long time. He is he's probably as polarizing a character in the magic industry as I am. He's confrontational, he's loud-mouthed, he says what he thinks, and he doesn't care what people think. He's a YouTuber, he's a creator, he's a performer, he's a teacher, and he's just brought out his own range of playing cards. We're going to find out all about the man, the myth, the legend, the one and only PigCake. How you doing, man?
What an introduction. I don't know if they could see it because I think it flips back and forth from whoever's talking, but I almost flexed and passed out as you were introducing me. But that's right, Craig. Good to talk to you again, friend.
Dude, it's last time was Blackpool where I covered you in a pint of beer, I think.
You did. You were, and the worst part is that I couldn't wash that until like 3 days later. So I just smelled like, I think it was Coors Light. Everywhere. We just context, you brought me on stage to be a guest host of your world famous podcast of Lloyd Barnes.
I did.
And because I could not drink the beer to your satisfaction in the speed in which you drank the cups of Coors Light, you decided to pour it all over my head and beanie and shoes. And I smelled like Coors Light. So I smelled like an English person, essentially, for
I was about to say, I was trying to help you fit in with the rest of Blackpool. So you're welcome.
I appreciate that to no end. But it's great that you have me here. I probably messaged you about 27 times going, Craig, hey, can I show my stuff on you? Hey, man, yo.
The problem is, though, you message me on Instagram, which is the thing I check the least. It gets checked like once every month.
I was going to say, we were just talking about your age. So I figure that, yes, you're not an Instagram person. You're like an email, hotmail.co.uk type of dude.
I'm kind of all about MySpace. Have you heard of it? It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's kind of dope. It's up and coming. They bought it and then they remade it, and then it's a music app, and then now it's gone.
Oh, really?
So it's a wondrous journey that MySpace has taken.
How are you? How are things over in Florida?
Well, Miami, Florida is pretty much the cesspool of people that look like me, people that I've noticed I have an accent. I have a very distinctive accent down here or in other places rather. But it's a great place, sunny. There's no sort of season change. It's just a colder summer is what we have here. But I'm great, man. I'm here. I'm still short. And I'm glad that at least in the frame of this video, I look a little bit tall. This is a coffee table, by the way. I don't know if you could tell that.
The lighting and the table and the guitar in the background. This looks like a great studio. You got the sofa on the left-hand side.
Casting couch.
Your production game, man. It looks great. I'm against a blank wall, and you look.
I was gonna say, I don't know. It looks a little bit like a white wall there, but well, this it looks good. But I'm sitting on a cigar box right now. This is a coffee table from Amazon that I had to repaint. And if you look outside of the confines of the camera, there's wires and cables. And I'm sure there's an FBI van outside because of the amount of cables and also maybe the way that I look.
And the fact that you are in Miami.
And then I'm in Miami. Yeah. And right now, I mentioned it before that I've been going through a Miami Vice phase. So I've been changing my wardrobe to that of Crockett and Tubbs from a 1984 show. Could you imagine how long ago it's been?
Look, if anyone could pull it off, it's you.
Thank you, man. Again, you said that again. And now you're saying it again. And it really makes me, I'm glad I'm sitting down.
But I'm saying it again because I want everyone to know that I mean it. I'm saying it to everybody. Anyway, look, here's what we're going to do. I want to know all about you. There's a lot of people, and what I said is true. You are a very polarizing character, a little bit like me in that you speak your mind, you say what you want to say, you're not afraid of controversy. In fact, you take a lot of topics that a lot of people would shy away from and you hit them head on. It's why you are such a popular YouTuber. You've got tens of that. Your channel is like 5-6 times bigger than mine. It's huge. It continues to grow. You've got the PigCake Academy. You've got so much stuff going on. And I want to talk about all of that. But before we do, for anybody who's maybe not heard of you or don't really know who PigCake is, I want to bring things back to the very beginning, first of all, and talk about your origin story, because you've got a lot of viewpoints about magic, and that's cool, and I want to get into that. But first of all, how did you get into magic? How did that all happen? When did that begin?
Well, the thing is that I've always watched when I was younger the world's greatest magic specials that now I find out were produced by I believe the Blackstone, Gay Blackstone, I think was the one that did them, or maybe one of the Ouellets, Gary Ouellette, I think was a big part of those back in the 90s. And I used to watch them just like willy-nilly, just with my family. And I used to guess at the methods, seeing like Jeff McBride do a manipulation and all that stuff. And then eventually in 6th grade, this kid told me he was going to show me that he could levitate. And obviously I'm fantasizing about how often I could walk or levitate down the hallways and, impress the girls, impress the chicks. Obviously I have to take attention away from the fact that I was probably the size of, what's the qualifications to be a little person? I was definitely well under that in middle school. But I was fantasizing about the possibilities of doing this levitation. And he hyped it up to the very end of the day, where he did the bit where you step up on your foot, the Balducci one.
Oh, Balducci, yeah.
Yeah, because this was after David Blaine got, I believe in 2000 is when this was taking place. And David Blaine was still on TV. Everyone was very hyped about him. So he showed me this, and I've never seen it before. But he does that. And at that point, I didn't learn a valuable lesson, but later on I did, because I built up the anticipation of this trick in my head all day. And when I saw it, I was disappointed. It fell flat on its head. But that eventually started the ball rolling, and I picked up Marvin's the Marvin Guide to Magic, or the not Marvin, sorry, the Mark Wilson Guide to Magic, the little thick boy. Like, I didn't get the big one. I got just a thick brick book, and that's what started it, man. There's a magician named Rodney Reyes that came out with a project called School of Hard Knocks that was eviscerated online. Everybody said that this was an awful DVD. It was terrible. The tricks were not good. That was my first DVD. And to this day, that is probably one of my favorite DVDs of all time, just teaching magic. And he's still doing stuff around, but it's funny to see that that DVD got so much hatred from the magic community. And it became one of the things that I loved. But that's how it started. And then it just snowballed into this league of professional virginity that I find myself in right now.
Well, let's talk about how you got from there to where you are like now. Because, so you're in school, you've got into magic, you're buying some DVDs, you're learning magic. What was the goal when you're in school? Was this kind of like, okay, I can make a career out of this, I can make money out of this? Or is it just, hey, this is a fun hobby, but I'm going to have to actually grow up at some point?
Well, yeah, fortunately, I've never grown up physically and literally. But when it comes to that, I mean, I really looked up to people like Michael Amar, to Bill Malone, to Richard Osserlin, to these people that I saw through L&L Publishing. Those were the first VHSs. I'm dating myself here. I would say Betamax. How old are you?
Oh, very old. I'm 57.
Okay, so
47. Fuck, I'm 57. 47. 47.
Okay, so Beta was just leaving, I believe, when you were it was like the next up and coming thing. But the VHS tapes from L&L Publishing, and I've always wanted to do that. I always want to have some sort of ability where I could put out a video, or I could put up something that would be sold online. As cheesy and as awful as it sounds, that's what my goal was in magic, even from being very young. And I want to put out playing cards, I want to put out projects, I want to lecture. I don't want to become big and famous. I just want to be a magician that was well known in the space. That was kind of my my first goals. And then I mean, I just did it consistently forever. I was the magic guy in school, like the dude that's like, oh, show me a card trick. I was that guy, which looking back on it was pretty cringe, I gotta say. But I think that that's a lesson you learn as you progress, that you don't necessarily want to push the magic as you want to use the magic to push yourself. So you learn that, I think, as you progress. But that's another thing in and of itself. When it came to eventually the YouTube channel, it was by accident. It was really by accident. One day I felt like I was dying, and I'm like, I should do YouTube. That was just a thought that came in my head as I was in bed sweating, looking at the ceiling. And I remember at the time I was dating a very nice Colombian girl, and she had this dream, because this is where the name came from. Just to clarify, she had a dream that she got upset at me because I had gone to a party, and my excuse was that in the party there was a pig cake. So there was a cake shaped like a pig. I didn't think of anything. I just wrote the name down because I thought it was cool. And then eventually that became the name of the channel, which is a lot better than my actual name, which again would put me higher up on an FBI, CIA watch list.
But so you now obviously do YouTube full time. You're a magician in many different capacities full time. But it took you a while to get to that point. You did have a job at one point, didn't you?
Yeah, that was fun. Believe it or not, they allowed me in front of a group of children to teach them as a teacher. And I did that for pretty much the entirety of the time that I was starting up with the channel. And it was a great learning experience because as a teacher, it was my other passion. I taught psychology. That's what I learned in school. And I really enjoyed that aspect of it. The part that I didn't enjoy was the behind the scenes, I could curse, right?
Yeah, of course you can. It's Magic TV.
Just
Yeah,
the
100%.
bullshit, the dumbest stuff. They would just tell you insignificant things.
You change that up and then they would counter it. It's just a nightmare behind the scenes. And luckily I got fired from that position because that pushed me to wanting to work more on the YouTube channel. I didn't get fired for nefarious reasons. All right. Let me just make that clear here online on the Craig Petty Magic Show. All right. Last time I was on your thing, it was a rant episode.
Oh, it was. We were just going off on everything and anything. Yeah.
I was hammered by the end of that. I don't know if you remember that, but I was demolished.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do.
Yeah, I was like, thank you, I was slurring. Thank you, Craig. I was not well in that particular interview. However, just to let it be known, I was fired because they were doing shady stuff with money, and I said something to that regard to a student. The student told the parent, and then the parent told the school. They said, hey, man, you can't be talking about shady stuff we're doing with money behind the scenes. And they let me go. So I just wanted to put that there to clarify. People speculate on reasons, but that's why that went away. And it gave me some time to really risk it for the biscuit and focus full time on making content online, on building up the academy, which I'm sure I'm going to show here in a little bit, the PigCake Magic Academy. You should check it out. It's on Patreon. No, I'm not going to do that. But as far as that, it was really a gamble, and it's still one of those things where I much prefer to be a starving artist than to ever go back to teaching, because it's just this is my passion. This is what I love, and the fact that I've amassed a very, I would say, cult-like following, a small but a very dedicated group of the PigCake community, as I call it, as I like to call them, and it's just it really is a dream come true.
That's fantastic. And how I want to talk about the community. I want to talk about everything that you do online. And I've got a reason for asking this question. How much do you perform? Do you do paid gigs at all? It's not a question I don't really know.
As far as paid gigs, no. I've always been an amateur in that sense. I've done little things here or there, but my performances really come from just the sporadic, hey, show me something, and I like to test and road work, things like that. But my passion in magic has never been performing. I know that certain people have differences in what really drives them when it comes to magic. I love solving little, and it sounds like the biggest virgin, but I love solving little problems. So solving, how can I solve this trick? How can I perform this trick or do it without this? How can I do this sort of trick with this limitation? And that's what I really get off on when it comes to magic, and obviously teaching it online. But the performance aspect never interested me personally. I just enjoy just coming up with something, seeing something, for example, a product that somebody made, and trying my best to figure out an alternative, maybe with a regular deck, or with, maybe a smaller gimmick, but less compromise. That's always been what really drove me to continue this for as long as I have, which is 23 years now. Boy.
That's how long you do. Wow, man.
I know.
The reason I asked that, though, is because I get a lot of questions on this channel about, hey, can I make a living in magic without actually being a performer? I don't want to be a performer. I don't want to perform professionally. I don't like the idea of going to gigs, but I love magic and I want to get a job doing this because this is what I love. And that's what you've done, which is great. So, I mean, would you have any advice before we talk about YouTube? Have you got any advice on how somebody can take what they're really passionate about and make a living out of it?
Well, I think a couple things, especially now going through what I have and dealing with, the things in the way that I, built this up. The first thing that I would say is don't quit your day job. I got fired, so it was different. So for me, I just decided to go and try to pursue this as much as possible. But I think if it's going to be something that you're really going to take serious, you're going to find a time for it. So regardless of, not sleeping, regardless of whatever that entails, if it's something you're really passionate about, you are going to find time for it. So I would say still have that parachute of having actual employment. And then eventually you could get to the point where, you could move on and then maybe put less time, ask for part-time, and then actually work on the magic full. But you need to have that parachute, because if not, you're just free falling. And maybe that might inspire some, but we're trying to be practical, especially in this post-COVID apocalypse that we find ourselves in. So, things are getting expensive. You always want to have that parachute. And when it comes to this, you're not making any money for like 4 years. You're not making anything. So prepare yourself for that. That's, I think, something that really turns people off. I don't want to be rude here, but I'm looking at you, and I know that I should be looking here at the camera. But if you see me looking suspiciously, I know, but I made several videos about this. That the one thing that bothers me is whenever I see a magician doing a video and they're like, "Hey guys, welcome to the video. So today I'm like, "Hey buddy, here's the audience right here." But that's just I digress. The point is that I think you have to expect that you're not going to make any money for a long time. You're not going to have any sort of full financial support for this endeavor for a while. You're going to be a starving artist. But if you could get over that, you're eventually going to find a niche. You're eventually going to find an audience, and just be persistent with it and don't give up. I've helped a couple people in my social circle as to making YouTube channels and helping them with content of their own. And it's always the same story. They have a really enthusiastic idea. They maybe shoots half of something, they put it out, they get no response back, no views, no reinforcement, and they give up. And that's the problem, because that is what everybody went through. Absolutely everyone at some point for the first time pressed that upload button or decided to turn on the camera and look at it. But what differentiates people that find some success, I don't want to say that I'm successful, but at least I found something that I'm happy with. But you need to get over those humps, and they're going to be there. It's going to be inevitable. Maybe you might be one of these people that you find a large audience by complete accident. One of your videos blow up, but the odds are not in your favor for that happening. So persistence it's not just key, it's necessary. It's without it, you're fucked. So that's the best tip that I could give from doing this and being a professional virgin for as long as I have.
That's amazing. And what made you go to YouTube as your option? Like, you're firmly entrenched in YouTube. You've been doing it for a long time. You have built a big niche. What made you kind of go down to YouTube? Because you say 25 years you've been doing this? Like,
well, 23. But then
YouTube was kind of new back then.
Oh. Yeah. But I started doing YouTube, fairly recently. I want to say 2016, even though if you think about it, that's almost fucking 10 years ago, dude.
Yeah, man.
2016 that was a long time ago. It's not like it's, hey, I was a different person. You were a different person then. Oh man, I don't want to think about it and now have existential, old. Right? Wouldn't that be great? That'd be a wonderful turn in this interview. Have an existential crisis live on camera, and you don't edit it out just because you're like, no. Let's show this.
We're gonna keep it real.
Yeah, but YouTube is really that. It's such a simple platform to do, and it's something that everybody is. It was a #1 search engine forever. So we're second to Google, and then they were fluctuating back and forth between it. But the fact that people were on it, it's at the time the only video platform. You did have Dailymotion and all these other ones, but this was really where you wanted to succeed. And especially back then, where the ads were paying way better than they are now. Back then, you could make edgier content, which is what I was doing when I was first on YouTube. And I guess we'll talk about that notoriety a little bit later. But when it came to that, I just figured, man, let me just try my best at this. This is really the king of content, at least right now. Today, we have about 100 different video platforms. I guess server space has gotten way cheaper since then. But YouTube was really where I felt like I want to gain success. I still have that goal of getting that silver play button. But when I get it, I want to take it out to the gun range. And I guess I can't say that for fear of being pushed further up the list that I'm already on. But you could imagine what I want to do to the silver play button once I get it. Acquire it and take it to a gun range.
Well, Brad Christian managed to pull it off with a laptop.
Yeah, that video was also great because it says one thing: don't fucking rob Brad Christian. Like, he will light you up. I don't know if you saw there was a cut of that video. They sent it to me beforehand. And I guess they cut it from the main one of YouTube. He opens up the cabinet. There is an armory in that bitch. It's not just, a handgun. It is loaded with ammunition and guns. And that man is safe. That's another one, by the way, not to go into a story, but he's one of those, the first ones that I really want to meet, because Illusionist and Penguin Magic were really the first two companies that I had just an obsession with. I looked at every download, every single Oz Perlman instant download from back in the day. Brad Christian with the eyeliner. I was there. I couldn't afford necessarily the projects, but I'd look at the demos and I try to, he held it like this. Maybe if I replicated that. So I would copy the demos and come up with my own tricks. And I've always, for some reason, wanted to meet Brad Christian. And I finally met him when they shot the How to Read Minds kit down here. And I mean, I don't know if I want to keep this here, but the first thing he said was, hey, man, I got to go take a shit. Like, that's the first thing that I heard. This wondrous character that I've looked up to for years on end, that I was like, no, man, I love his stuff, even though people joke on it all the time. He's one of the first magicians that really got me to pick up a deck and think about magic in a logical way. And the first thing this guy says is, hey, man, yeah, I'm going to go shit. I'm going to go shit right now. So I'll see you later. I'm like, great. Way to humanize him.
That's awesome, man.
What a fucking legend.
He is a legend. He is a legend. Oh my God. Okay. Well, you alluded to it, didn't you? You alluded to the fact that you've carved out a controversial niche. You have put a lot of edgy content out. You've called magicians out on their bullshit. You've called, you've done a lot. So here's
I poked the bear.
In this industry, one of the things that I see over and over again is magicians are not, they're reluctant to call other magicians out. We've all been there in that magic club or that magic convention where a guy comes up to you and says, show me a trick. And it's just an abomination. It's like the worst thing that anybody could ever see. You know, there's this guy that's drooling from the mouth, that's unable to even speak, that's shaking his way through this trick. And then afterwards, everyone's like, oh, Bob, that's amazing. Oh, Bob, that's the best trick. Bob. And then they go out and they perform it to real people who then hate magic forever because Bob is ultimately really shit, right?
Yeah.
But as a community, we find it very difficult, to be honest. And you have cut through the bullshit, and you've
a couple times
the niche of somebody who's not afraid to take names and kick ass. Now, talk to me about that. Talk to me about that niche. Talk to me about the character PigCake on the channel. Yeah. Is that the same as you? If I met you in a bar and I didn't know you were a magician, would you be the same person that I know from a convention or from a YouTube channel? How much of it is you? How much of it is you playing a character? And what made you go down that route?
Well, I guess to address the first part of what you asked, which is about certain magicians and calling them out. The only ones that I really called out were a couple. One of them was Jabrizi. Just in the sense of that one. But you know what? I've come to turn around on Jabrizi. I don't know if that's me just getting old, but I'm now thinking, fuck it, whatever. He's doing a bit. At this point, I'm convinced. I think whatever he's doing is just a bit. And now I want to hang out with him. I want to go to Vegas and rub his forehead, essentially. But I've turned around. But, a couple times I have just named names like that episode of Seinfeld. But I find it kind of interesting because obviously there's a massive difference between saying that online and telling that to a person in a convention. And what I find is that the conventions that I've gone to, I'm inundated and I'm blessed that, a lot of people recognize my stuff. And it was overwhelming the first time that I noticed that people just came up. They're like, oh man, I love your stuff. Let me take a picture. Especially when I went to England the first time, I was just getting pictures left and right, pints just being given to me. At one point, I'm holding 3 pints that were bought for me, and I partook in the pinting. But if it's when somebody shows me something in real life, I tend to be not as annoying as I am online in terms of, the videos, which I guess could answer the other part of your question, which is if this is a character, if this is me, it's pretty much me with the volume turned up, which you hear that all the time when it comes to people and the content that they provide. It's that it's you, but just almost like a parody of you and how you are, because, I do tend to agree with the things that I've joked about, but a lot of the times they are just jokes. I've gotten in a little bit of heat when it comes to certain types of jokes, whether based on religion or race or that type of humor is what's gotten me the most in trouble. But it's the humor that I've always watched. I grew up watching Bob Saget. I grew up watching, these what people would consider to be controversial comedians. Norm Macdonald is another one that I absolutely adore. They're not apologetic about their style. They're very open when it comes to the jokes they make, and that could really rub people off the wrong way. Now, add to that magic, and that my audience is primarily magicians, and you have this just golden ratio of a certain word that will get me in trouble if I said it a lot, but it rhymes with tarnation. No, it doesn't. I might be retarded, but it's as far as when it comes to magicians, it's really hard to make the jokes that I find funny and to not get in trouble. And I have, and it's cost me, opportunities. It's cost me jobs in working with other people in the magic industry. But from the very beginning, one of the things that I was never going to compromise on was I was never going to compromise on my style. I was never going to compromise on that, regardless of what that cost me. Just because if I did, then it wouldn't be something that I would enjoy. And if it's not something that I enjoy, I'm not going to do it. And I'm going to be just one of these names that people are like, what happened to PigCake? He made a bunch of videos and now he's gone. I didn't want to become that. So I just want to keep doing this. And I didn't want to ever compromise on that, even if I might offend certain people. But it's not like I joke about any one particular group or demographic or race or religion. It's everyone. Everyone's getting equal opportunity PigCake punches when it comes to that. And it's just based on the humor that I had when I was growing up, just based on the humor that I like. But I understand how that could rub certain people off the wrong way. But my intent is not to, it's always to just bring fun, to have levity. We take ourselves way too fucking seriously, whether that's politically, religiously. Everything is just so serious now. And we just need to take a step back, realize we all take painful shits at some point. The Queen of England has taken a painful shit at some point. Well, not now anymore, but she has. Right. Mm-hmm. So we need to realize that we're all people. We're all humans. So if I'm making these jokes, it's a video online. You have the option not to watch it. It's as simple as that. The video is targeted towards a specific demographic, which is you're a magician. You like dick jokes. Cool. All right. We're friends. But I think that there are a lot of people that really go out of their way to really tarnish what, could be. It could have, at least for me, could have been a lot of good opportunities. Now, granted, it is my fault because I did make those jokes to begin with, but I did know that coming into this. I didn't know that that's a possibility, that people might not want to work for me, but I'm not going to apologize for any of those jokes or things that I've said. And whatever that comes, even if that might be at the cost of, for example, launching a very successful, highly rated PigCake deck of playing cards. But
I can't wait to talk about that because that is awesome. We will be shilling the shit out of those in a second.
That's great.
Do you think that there are, like you say, very edgy comedians out there? You look at people like Ricky Gervais and what he says at the Oscars and the Golden Globe, and people just laugh and they go, well, that's Ricky. Do you think that the reason you've got in trouble is because it's the magic community and like 90% of the magic community don't have a fucking sense of humor?
Yes, I do think that it's that. I mean, as far as Ricky Gervais, he's a comedian to a general audience of just humans. If he was a comedian specifically to a general, like a specific populace, like angry virgin magicians, then yeah, I don't think he would have found as much success in that. And I find myself in that boat. Now, granted, I do think there's an audience, and I have found, a good audience when it comes to that. But no, 100%. Yeah, when it comes to that, I do believe that magicians, and I'm come to find out that it's extended to all niche things. Like I'm into cigars. In the cigar community, there's virginity. In the music industry, there's virginity. But when it comes to magic specifically, it's such an art form that promotes egos, because you perform and you don't even have to be a good performer, but you perform and you get that reaction of, oh my God, you're so good. Oh my God, I've never seen anyone like you. You're the best magician I've seen. Meanwhile, the last magician they saw was the creepy uncle in the game room closet, playing Find the Willy, but that sort of, it's a very common type of person in the magic community, just this full of shit, egotistical person. In the same way, I think that there's a lot of brilliant, beautiful people in magic that I've met that I'm just flabbergasted by listening to them talk about theory and things like that. But there's also bigger parts, douchebags, and people that don't necessarily understand, oh, a joke is a joke. It doesn't have to mean anything. We all die at some point. Like, chill out, dude.
Yeah, totally agree. And you know what? One of the things about magic, and this is probably a controversial opinion, but one of the things about magicians and magic is, let's be honest, it's not even that difficult. You could give a professional actor who's, got skills when it comes to presenting and skills when it comes to approaching people. You could give a professional actor 5 or 6 self-working tricks, and he could go out, or she could go out and do a corporate gig or a wedding or a private party and kill it with, a couple of days of practice. It's not that difficult. Magicians make out like it's the fucking hardest thing in the world. And it can 100%. Be, if you want it to be, you can make it really difficult for yourself. But in reality, the art of going out and performing, anybody can do it.
You're 100% right on that. And it's one of those things, I think the more you mature in magic, the more you realize that. And I think the more you realize that, the more you focus on yourself rather than the actual trick. I learned that lesson because when I was in school, it was obviously I was a magic guy. I was like, hey, show us a magic trick, whatever. And I was doing sleight of hand, I was doing ambitious card tricks, all these, tricks that pretty much everybody knows. But there was a person that had a Svengali deck, and he wasn't a magician. He just bought this at the, whatever. You guys have Tesco's.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Oh, God, that's another can of worms. My time in England was just pushing every single, I'm such an ignorant American when it comes to anything English. Okay. I'll digress again. But he performed the Svengali deck, and he performed it for the same audience that I was doing the ambitious card trick to. And this very complicated, sleight of hand routine where the card ends up in my pocket and then ends up folded up in my shoe. And I remember practicing it in the mirror, then unfolding the cards, practicing again because I'm being very cheap. And he performed it in a different period, the Svengali deck. And people told me later, oh, I don't want to say anything about you, but dude, all the cards were the same. No matter what card I picked, it was the same card. He was doing crazy stuff. And I'm like, if you knew, motherfucker, it's a fucking gimmick deck. My grandma could do it, with dementia, essentially. But at the time, I didn't realize it. But later on, I realized it's a wonderful story because you don't have to work that hard. And it really isn't that difficult. The art of magic, and what stands out, is when it's memorable. It's something that stands out to a person years after the fact. And that's after whatever false memory you managed to implant them to remember. I didn't touch a deck. Oh, I've never seen the card or whatever. All the little things that we tell them to lie. Regardless of that, I think what's the art form of magic is when you're able to just have the trick and just use that as a vehicle to push whatever story, or even if you want to push yourself. That's what I find artful. It's why I love Greg Wilson. It's why I love Bill Malone, because the trick is incidental. Oh yeah, you found the 4 aces, they came together. Fuck off, right? But they remember Greg fucking Wilson. They remember Bill Malone, especially because Bill Malone does the whole fucking chant every time he does a paddle trick. Mm-hmm. But it's still, that to me is what I love about magic, not the trick. The trick is just it's here's the thing, but let me navigate with this trick so you can know me.
Yeah. 100%. Totally agree with you. By the way, on the subject of Bill Malone, I remember once, I love Bill Malone as well. And I remember once at a gig, I was like, if it works for Bill Malone, I'll do it. So I went over to I was at this table, and they're fucking loving me. Everybody was like, yeah, insane reactions. And so I just threw in after a trick, Craig Petty. Oh. And they just looked at me as if to say, what the fuck are you doing? And I was just like, yeah, it was one of the cringiest moments I've ever had in my life.
Douche chills. My hairs are standing up.
Thought,
yeah. That was, but to tie on that too, I remember I copied Greg Wilson so aggressively growing up. Like just everything he said, I copied. Even the lines that don't make sense as a middle schooler performing. Like, oh no, hey, hold the card there, but keep the wine in. Keep the wine in. I remember him in one of his videos. The person was drinking wine and he was using that as like a bit, like, oh yeah, the trick's better when you drink, which I also would say to middle schoolers. What drink? What milk? OJ? You know? Oh God. But you learn from those mistakes, and then hopefully you develop into a competent professional virgin like I am.
Absolutely. 100%. Well, you know what? Actually, talking about egos and virginity and so on and so forth, I remember watching a very old interview with Max Maven, the late, great Max Maven. And I remember him, and I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was something along the lines of the problem with the magic community, the problem with magicians is that when people get into magic, when they're younger, it's normally because they are socially awkward. Maybe they've been bullied. Maybe they haven't got many friends or a very large friend group. And they learn this thing that almost gives them a superpower that they have over everyone else. It gives them a thing that makes them special, that makes them stand out, something they can do that nobody else can. And as they grow up, they're still socially awkward.
Yeah.
But
Guess what?
Yeah, I mean, that does seem to be a problem, not with all magicians, but there is a percentage of magicians that, like, they should read How to Win Friends and Influence People as opposed to read.
I love that. You could do the fuck out of 2-card money, but you can't talk to a girl. It's like, well, maybe you should have this be this, not necessarily just be able to do the. That's another rant I have. 2-card money. David Blaine ruined that for a population of people like me that would copy him and then do the, hey, let me just, which card do you think I have, man? It could be done so much better. Just look at David Williamson when he does it, and it's a riot. And then meanwhile, we're copying David Blaine and his zombie-like when he did it back in 1997. You remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Hey, man, hold this card over here. Great. And I copied that too. It was such a cringe magnet back then. But again, valuable lessons that you learn, and you eventually develop into, a hopefully competent individual. But you said virginity there, and I've said it many times here, and I think that's one of the words
let's talk about that, because a lot of people, when I say I'm talking to PigCake or this is PigCake, they go, what's he talking about? Virginity? I don't know. What does he mean?
Yeah, that's I think I have to clarify. And I have made a video saying, hey, what's virginity? Virginity explained as far as magic. And it's funny because I was on the Penguin Magic podcast with Eric Tate, and he brought it up. He said, hey, man, it could be offensive. And I know that's the point. But the thing with virginity is that it's this word that I found that I think works with everything. So there's guitar virginity, there's cigar virginity, there's video production virginity, there's magic virginity, which is that ego that I was talking about, that seriousness, that ridiculous sort of, this is the only thing that I'm good at. I'm going to ignore everything else, bodily functions, hygiene. I just want to work on this. But I think that the best lesson is to work on yourself first and then care about the magic, because that's going to help the magic. If you work on yourself, the magic is going to be helped. Whereas if you only work on the magic, you're essentially putting yourself down. So if you only focus on this thing, and it's really hard to do as a younger person, it's really difficult to do when you're in that age where hormones are rocking, you don't know what's going on in your body, this thing that you're good at, you know how to perform it, and you really have a hard time talking to people. It's really difficult just to say, hey, work on yourself, exercise, talk to people without magic. And that's one thing I find myself doing in conventions a lot. I don't want to have a deck out. I just want to talk to people. And if they show me a trick, I ask them questions about their life. I ask them questions about things that they're working on outside of magic. And usually what's interesting is that the people that are known in the community that happen to, have a name are the ones that'll talk your ear off about anything other than magic. Now, granted, it is a magic convention, but you see that they have a life and they have existing passions and things they love outside of it. Now, it's not to say not to have a love and dedication for magic, which I do. I mean, I've been doing it for goddamn so long, but it's not like it's ever fallen out of love with me. But when it comes to that, work on yourself, and you're going to see that your magic is going to, be improved exponentially, just in terms of your approach, your ability to talk to people without just, looking down at the cards that you're holding. And that's when people freeze. And I've noticed that again with younger performers, that once something happens that they don't account for, that they didn't see in front of the mirror, they freeze and they go back to the script and they don't know because they got lost. And to me, it's just this conversation, and you just happen to have magic as the vehicle that's allowing that conversation to take place. But if that's it, I think you're going to be dead in the water if you're only involved in magic. I don't know where I got that from. I think it was when you were talking about virginity, and that really got me on it. But I think that's just, it's, at least from what I've gone through in terms of magic, I think that's the one thing that I would tell myself back then, like, hey, dude, lay back on the tricks. Just work on yourself, work on talking, and you're going to be all right. And it's going to make your magic better.
Well, here's a question before we move on to the academy. If you could wave a magic wand and you could cause one thing to happen that would fix a lot of the problems that you perceive within the magic community, other than getting every magician laid, because I know that's the thing that you're going to come up with.
Yeah, that or making my penis bigger. Dude, it's so small, man. I can't eat. Like, sometimes I have to I can't get circumcised because they might chop off the whole thing. Like, they're afraid to. It's hard out here, dude. You wouldn't know as a fucking 6 foot English man.
I can relate.
If I could change something, man, I don't think. Here's the thing. I think if I had the ability to change something, magicians would find a way to just redo that thing and just undo my wish. It's funny because it's a very human trait that we have, where we're given something and then we'll just find every single way possible to fuck it up. We're given a life. Hey, let me just introduce drugs into my system and ruin this once in a lifetime thing that I have, this precious life that I've been given. Let me just do something retarded that essentially is going to ruin my life. So when it comes to that, I don't think there's anything that I would change, because magicians they'll find a way to undo it anyways.
Yeah, you're probably right, actually.
What would you change? What would you change?
Oh man, me. I'd make sure that every magic convention around the world gave out free deodorant upon people arriving at the convention.
I think it depends on the heat, man. I gotta tell you, the conventions that I've been to that have been like warmer environments, it smells like just a shit factory. But then I go to England, where everybody's perpetually sick because the weather is just depressing all times of the year. And you're just there like, oh, wow, this is a cool place. Blackpool, man, it must be so cheap to do the convention here. Wow. And you're just shaking. I remember when I first went into Blackpool, I just see a trash can just floating across that Winter Gardens or Winter, whatever it was. I just see it floating across because of the wind, the heavy crosswind. I'm like, what a wonderful place. What a beautiful metaphor for this fucking convention that they decide to host.
There's some magicians that come over to England and all they do is go to the Blackpool convention. They've never seen any other part of England. All they've done is gone to Blackpool in fucking February, and they
beach town.
Yeah, and they think that basically the whole of England is like the North from the Game of Thrones, and it's not. There's nice bits occasionally.
There's a big divide I've noticed between the North and the South when it comes to English. And there's a hatred that I just, oh, look, they're Northerners. Those are just Northerners.
We are permanently on the verge of a civil war.
Yeah. I found that to be best. I got Peter Turner mentalismed my haircut. When I was over there, I had long hair. I mean, there it was dry as a bone and brittle, but usually I have oils on it. Just, I loved. And we went to a barbershop that is friend owned. Maybe that should have been the first red flag, that my hair is not going to come out with me. But dude, like 3 decent sized women, that's all I'm going to say about that, walk in front of this closed barbershop, and they're just holding bottles of like Jack Daniels and liquor. And they're just holding it on the window like this. I'm like, what's going on here? The guy lets them in, and they're just there, just drinking, chilling, just watching me get a haircut. Peter Turner is doing some mentalism for these. I mean, I don't want to be rude, but these absolute just, I guess I can't be rude without pulling you down with me. But, and he's trying to do this mentalism, telling them the star sign. And she's like, what's that? Like that sort of missing teeth. And I put a picture of that on Instagram. And the amount of comments I got from English people from the South, that they're like, yeah, that's typical Northern women. That's typical women from that particular part. I believe this was in Wakefield. So
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the
That's
vibe.
Georgia. That's right up north. Yeah, right.
But then Newcastle, when I got off the train at
Newcastle is
Newcastle,
like as close to Scotland as you're going to get without going into Scotland.
I fell in love with probably 100% of every single woman that I saw. As soon as I stepped out the train, I'm like, what is, I heard music playing, like beautiful music playing. I'm just looking at all these beautiful, it reminded me of Miami, to be honest, because imagine leaving this beautiful, idyllic beach town in Miami, Florida, and then going 8 hours on this plane. It might as well have been a Ryanair airline that took me there, because it was just nothing but turbulence. And then I land in London, which is another thing in and of itself, because apparently your wind there is just there's a television show that aims cameras at the actual in Heathrow, and then watch the airplanes take down and then come back up because of the wind. It's that morning show that I think just got in some controversy. I think it was that one, but I remember seeing that in England. I'm like, there's no way that this is a thing that people do. They just watch the airport and watch the airplanes land and then take off because of the wind. That's what I dealt with to get to England. And then from that, I had to take the trains to Blackpool, England. And I'm seeing the scenic changing of the seasons, even though it's still within the same day. You go from, oh, look, here's London, which is somewhat pretty, all these buildings. And then as it's like Scar in The Lion King when he takes over and everything just turns to just blue and black. And then I get to Blackpool, and it's an experience in and of itself. Now, here's the thing. I'm not going to discourage the convention, because the convention, what they're doing is just immaculate. The shows, the lectures, the dealer hall, which is getting bigger every year. Like in the first is like the hall, and then they expand to it. And they're adding so much, and people are complaining about the ticket price. I was complaining too, but then I realized it's fucking expensive. Like, yeah, dude, you're lucky you're paying that for a 3-day convention with the names they got and shit. Like, what? So
the prices are so cheap.
But I'm complaining about the city. All right. And I think everybody universally from Blackpool is aware that it's a shithole.
Oh yeah, no, it is. I think even people who live in Blackpool know it's a shithole.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Everyone told me. And then they would say, oh yeah, it's a beach town. People come here for vacation. For vacation, you're going to leave whatever place you are and then come to Blackpool, England for the beach?
When you come here in the summer, it's not too bad.
Okay, come down here to Miami, Florida during the summer. All right. And then just stand and just enjoy. And you're going to see the wonderful and beautiful sights and smells. You might hear a lot of my people, the Cubans, right? Oh, ¿qué está pasando? But if you ignore that, you just see the Miami Vice. Oh, my goodness. I could go on a tirade on Blackpool, England for hours, but we only have so much time.
Well, yes, we have only got so much time. I can listen to you talk about Blackpool forever, to be honest. So, look, we're going to move on to the Academy, but before we do, let me ask you one question.
Yeah.
You've obviously got the PigCake Academy, and you are a very creative guy. You can't put out as much content, both into the Academy and onto YouTube, without being creative. You are very
flexing.
And so what made you not go down the route of releasing a trick with a Murphy's Magic or a Penguin Magic or a Vanishing Ink or an Alakazam or something like that? Because you have the ability to. But as far as I'm aware, unless I'm wrong, you've never really gone down that route. Instead, you've focused all of your time and energy on YouTube and onto the PigCake Academy. Why is that? Because everybody who comes into Magic, their big goal is to build a brand, get people to know who they are, release a few products, get people to even, you talk about Greg Wilson, you talk about Bill Malone, you talk about all these people that you were mentioning. The reason that they are so notorious, the reason they did an L&L DVD set, the reason so many people know who they are is purely because they were putting product out. Don't you think by putting a product out through Penguin Magic or somebody like that, it would raise the PigCake brand? How come you've not gone down that route?
Well, a couple of things. It's been trial and error when it's come to that particular thing. There is a more humorous answer as to why I haven't. The short answer would be because they don't want to. All right, because I make dick jokes. Because I make jokes about, but that's obviously a joke. But when I first did this, I did release a couple independent projects. I did have a couple things in any carded number. I had a project on an impromptu set, like a little thing that was, I found it to be very interesting, this memory set. A project on short cards. I did one on a couple impromptu tricks. And these are just independent little small releases that I had through, online websites, just like Gumroad was one, Thinkific. these specific websites. I did have those. They did do well in terms of sales and that, but again, within my community. And I do think I will down the line want to release a specific product with a magic company, because that is a goal. Just because, I mean, I've always wanted to have something there. I've always wanted to have essentially my stuff pirated. That's really the goal. If I see my stuff on the pirate websites, I know I've made it. I know that I've said, hey, you know, they're ripping this off, then fuck yeah, at least they care enough to rip it off. But I do eventually want to do that, but I decided to just focus on the PigCake Magic Academy on Patreon and the own little, like the small little independent projects, because it's what I felt I wanted to. I didn't necessarily, I'm dumb when it comes to marketing. I really am. I care more about price. I'll put everything at nothing. I mean, people have told me constantly I could charge way more for the stuff that I put on the Academy. And that's not just me just saying that. It's what I've been told. And it's because it's what I would have wanted growing up in Magic. I would have wanted something that's relatively cheap. Now, obviously, I can't have it be free because I need to make a living. I need to pay bills as well. And I'm also dedicating a lot of time to things like the Academy. So I do eventually want to put something out with someone like, you know, Theory or Penguin or Illusionist. And I have, you know, to some capacity with Illusionist for a little while, but a specific product, I definitely have that in the pipeline as far as a goal of mine. I do have a couple things that I guess would fall in that category, but I just haven't put time on it. I really haven't. I rather focus on something like the Academy and growing that rather than actually working on an independent, just a one-off release. Now, obviously, you know more than anyone that when you're working with a company, the benefit is the email list. Essentially, you get the strength of the marketing behind a company that has had an established history. That's the benefit. The downside, of course, is that, well, you're working with a company. It's no longer something that you have 100% control of. If you have 100% control, I could say whatever I want. I could put it out. I could get all of the, you know, funding for it. I could finance it myself. And what I find too is that I unfortunately rather make less and put it out than have to go through a company, make a little bit less, and just have to deal with some things. Because even if, you know, at least the people that I've met from every company have always been sweet to me and have always been just nothing but kind with their words of encouragement. I believe when I was in Blackpool, I spoke to everyone. I spoke to somebody from Murphy's, from Penguin, obviously Illusionist, you know, I spoke to, but everyone from very major magic manufacturer, except Joshua Dre. I don't think he likes me for some reason. I don't know. I don't know if that's just a feeling I get, but Vanishing Egg is the only one that for some odd reason, I don't know if he likes me or not, but, and it was just nothing but
Josh is very vanilla.
Is
Which, and that's not a negative thing, you know, but they do come across as the wholesome magic company, you know, the
very much
magic. And I can imagine that PigCakes brand doesn't really mesh 100% with Vanishing Ink.
Yeah, I have
I never did anything with them. I did a masterclass with them, and
I don't know if you could see that on my phone, but I have my on the back of my phone, I have the meme known as Barry Wood. I don't want to really show it too much, but people can look it up on their own. So yeah, I don't think Joshua J is up to date with Barry Wood or memes about really strong people of color, well endowed. So yeah, it makes sense as to why he's avoiding me like the plague. But for the most part, I've gotten amazing feedback from every single magic company. Like every single one is like, "Oh man, we love your stuff. It's great. Keep doing what you're doing. Please don't stop." And eventually, I do want to work specifically with a product, but I'm just happy doing this, man. I really am. The Academy is more than I could ever wish for. I'm always getting positive feedback. I'm always adding to it. I'm always it's something that I have control over. You know, I could probably end up selling the catalog to a company for a lot of money, and have been offered once, but I rather just be me and hope that people enjoy it.
That works.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. So we might see something of you in the future from various magic company, which brings me actually, before we talk about the Academy, to Illusionist, because you were part of the Illusionist brand for a little while, weren't you?
I was, yeah.
How did that come about? What, like where did that? Again, you do fit with Illusionist. Actually, your brand does fit with Illusionist brand. Kind of edgy, kind of against the grain.
Well, I think I not to interrupt you, I'm sorry, but I do think that Illusionist now, the way they've been structuring recently has been top notch. I really enjoy the direction that they've gone with recently, and it's this underground. I don't think it's as edgy as people give them credit for. I don't think it's edgy. I think that that's just somewhat of the telephone game. You know, they maybe had some sort of edgy content. Of course, edgy being the weird, every video has to be shot in an abandoned warehouse with a train track in black and white with Daniel Madison. You know, I am Daniel Madison, and it has to be edgy in that case. But as far as like edgy, I don't think that their humor is as aligned with me in terms of what they've produced. Maybe behind the scenes, but in terms of what they've produced, I don't think it's as aggressive. However, the direction that they've gone recently, I'm a huge fan. They're going to magic conventions. They're really seeking out the underground. You know, these French magicians, these Spanish magicians, just the real bloodline of magic, and people that wouldn't necessarily get the exposure that they would without a company like Illusionist. So what they're doing now is just immaculate. But as far as how I got that opportunity, I mean, I've been close with G and Peter when he was working for Illusionist, when they came down here to Miami to shoot that How to Read Minds kit, which is the funniest thing to watch these British men just sweating and sweltering, looking pasty in the Miami Beach sun. But that's an entirely thing altogether, or a different thing altogether. And, you know, I did have a working relationship with them to that capacity. And, you know, G just said, hey, man, we have this opportunity here if you want to make some videos and kind of be a face for the company, because we really don't have somebody to fill that role. And, you know, ultimately, I was blessed for a couple months. I gave it my best to put out the content that I thought was good. And, you know, it is something that I still enjoy looking back on those videos that I made for them to this day. I made a video for Blackpool when I went over there the first time, a PigCake, Blackpool, a short PigCake documentary. I remember that was particularly interesting. But you know, eventually it's just a thing that controversy caught up. And it makes sense for a company that you don't necessarily want to pull yourselves down to just, you know, help this guy up, because to be honest, I've really set myself for that with the type of jokes and things that I've said. And I could understand how I've rubbed certain people the wrong way. And what Illusionist brought is me to a more general magic population of viewers. That's what Illusionist brought me, which I wasn't necessarily sure if I was ready for. I didn't know that it would be so different than what I was experiencing, because I live in a niche. So Illusionist is this magic company that's well known everywhere in the world. Every single, you know, country has some sort of Illusionist has touched everything in the planet in regards to magic. And I don't think the reaction that I got from the general magic population was one of glorious adulation as I thought it was, or I thought it would be. It's more of a, is that guy wearing a shirt that says short but my dick tall? What the, is this what's representing your company, Illusionist? This man who's making small penis jokes? I have a small penis. That's offensive. That's actually a comment that I've seen, is like in regards, I had a shirt that says short but my dick tall. And then that was enough to offend. And if that offended people, then I know that any other thing would definitely not work well. But I mean, I love them to this day. I don't have any animosity towards Illusionist. If G was in front of me, I'd rub, you know, the tip of whatever body part would be presented to me. And I really enjoy what they're doing now. So there's no, I understand completely why they decided to kind of step away from having me make videos as the almost face. I mean, for a couple months there, I was, every video they put out on YouTube, I was there. It's like, hey, hi.
Oh yeah.
But so that's just
and I did,
but it was a wonderful opportunity.
And in terms of what you're talking about, I did see some flack. I did see some negative comments, but
Yeah.
I also saw a lot of positive comments. I think there's a lot of people
I did, yeah,
that gravitated towards Illusionists because you were involved with their stuff.
yeah, not to, you know, satiate my already inflated ego, but I did see that. But as a human, unfortunately, we tend to gravitate towards the negative. So what stood out to me were those negative comments the most. Now, I don't care, honestly. I really don't. If you're gonna say something bad, the only thing I care about are outright lies. So if you're gonna call me a certain thing that's not true, if you're gonna say, "Hey, I'm this type of way," that's when, you know, I say no, and here's why. And that's happened before. But if you're gonna say, "Yeah, I don't like this shit for whatever reason," that's you, dude. That's you. I don't give a shit. But obviously, it's just me. If when I was making videos for them, it's no longer just me. It's also them and their brand, and they're also trying to sell products. So I completely understand it. But what's funny too is that a lot of the comments were directed towards at PigCake on Instagram, which is not my handle. So I didn't see a lot of it. So whoever this poor person was that was at PigCake, they just got just
what
bombarded.
the hell is going on?
Yeah, I added the very mature 69 to the end of my name, PigCake 69. So that didn't get as much vitriol as at PigCake. Poor, it's a
shows the intellect of the people making those comments, that they can't even figure out what your fucking handle is on Instagram.
Yeah, the thumbnail's not even the same. When you look up at PigCake, the first thing that comes up is a profile picture, and it's some like girl. So poor girl that she got the hatred, the vitriol of a magic community, because I had a shirt that said short but my dick tall. And I'm trying to remember another thing that they complained about in regards to the videos that I made. I think one was I said gaslight, and they got offended because I said the word gaslight. That's the what we're dealing with, my friend. That's the threshold. You can't make a penis joke. You can't say the word gaslight in a magic video without somebody going, hey, that's wagging their finger with a thumb tip on it. I imagine that's how magicians point their finger at you. They just do this thing. Ridiculous. But I think I know you were about to say something. I don't want to interject there, but the last time we had a conversation in this particular way, the rant that we went on that I was hammered for, I think we talked about that to some extent, about not necessarily caring as much as to opinion of people that don't really know what this entails, or people that don't really have, that are just speaking not from a logical perspective, but just strictly emotionally and just reactionary. And we talked about that with some extent with the stuff that you've put out. And
well, you know what, it's something I've always struggled with, and I try to decompartmentalize it more than anything else. But man, one thing I've discovered is that when you have a name in the community, or when you put out content and people know who you are, Jesus, the shit comes out the woodwork. Like, I get so much hate on this YouTube channel, so much hate all of the time. And I get, and I know it's a very small but vocal minority compared to the thousands of people that go, oh, your videos really helped me. Yeah, I wouldn't be where I am. I've gone out and started performing because of your videos. And I don't know why I do it. And I try not to do it as much as I did. But, it's kind of like, I go, oh, that's a nice comment. That's a nice comment. And I fixate on the mean comment. But it just happens all the time. And I've got to a point where I've just dealt with it. Like, because my phone number's everywhere, I'll tell you this right now, because my phone number's everywhere, I get fucking shit all the time.
Really?
While I've been on the phone to you, right? While I've been on this call to you, it's 11:30 at night here. And I had a message while I've been on the phone to you saying, somebody tried to call me twice. So while I've been speaking to you, I sent a text message back saying, can I help you? I'm busy. And they said, yes, I want to arrange a magician for an event. And I said, okay, it's 11:30 at night. I'll call you about it in the morning. And he said, no, need to sort now, you ignorant boy.
What?
Seriously, a prank call. I'm afraid I can't help. I'm on a Zoom call. I can't leave. Who's stupid enough to be on a Zoom call at this time, you useless pigeon? And I said, sorry, I don't appreciate being spoken to like that. Oh, well, ring me and I'll tell you exactly how much of an idiot you are, you useless iguana, you improper fraction. Grow up, you juvenile. I've just ignored it now. But I get that, like, literally 3 or 4 times a day.
They called you a math problem?
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
What the fuck is this level of absolute no life? Just hypothetically, what do they want? To waste your time and to have you set up and organize a magician and then go, ha, 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 JK?
Probably. The one thing I find that I can't win with is I get people online sometimes saying stuff that I haven't done, or accusing me of stuff that I haven't done. Like, just recently, it's a guy that's been saying that I should crawl back under the rock that I've been living under while I was at the magic community because I'm a terrible performer and I expose magic on my review shows. I just can't win. If I put a video up saying, well, this is my point of view, I have people saying to me, you shouldn't make a video like this. We only want the positive content. But then if I don't make a video like that, I have people reaching out to me going, why have you done this? Well, I haven't. You're not seeing things. It's frustrating. Luckily, I'm not as fixated on it as I was when we had our last conversation. I was
Okay,
in quite
that's
bad
good.
place back then. Now,
Yeah,
amusing, like text messages like that at 11:30 at night.
yeah,
Quite amusing. It's whatever. It kind of, you have to understand, I suppose, it comes with the territory, and you can't be everywhere and just have people love you. It's like, I suppose the bottom line is, if they're talking about you, that I'd rather have people saying Craig's an asshole.
yeah. Fuck it. Have them talk.
Than nobody watching my videos, and a video goes up and I get one view. I'd much, hey, I'll be an asshole if you know what I mean. It's
well, to kind of expand on that, it is not to make it about me, but as far as that, yeah, it's
of you here. This is
I know. That's the bit, Craig. That's the joke. But as far as that, yeah, it's such a shame that we focus on the negative. I hate that it's such a normal, like, human trait, just you ignore all this wall of text of just people going, dude, your videos really put me, a drug addict, and I watch your videos and just they make me laugh in a time when everything is dark around me. In England specifically, I don't want to mention a couple, but this lovely couple came up to me at the bar, and they kind of jumped me, and they're like, oh, PigCake, oh my God, I can't believe to see you here. And just giving me such this crazy story as to how they struggle, certain things. And this guy struggled with, a lot of things in his life. And some of the videos that I put out were really just paramount in helping him out. And I saw them again in the following year when I went, and they kind of opened up more. And, part of that conversation that we had was that if I gave them, if I didn't really react as I did in the first time around, they really wouldn't have been motivated to show up this time to Black Porn. They really would have been, they're really recluse as to how they were. And just having that conversation with me and how approachable I was, and how, it's that positivity really encouraged them to branch out and to, really focus on their professional work, and to focus on, and just that alone, that is something that's insane to me, just from doing card tricks and making dick jokes. That sort of reaction to me just made it all worth it. So to me, I find myself as of late focusing more on those than the negative. The negative is always going to be there, that just small niche of a niche. But I just wish that as humans, we're more prone to care about positivity rather than just delve in the muck.
Yeah. 100%. Completely agree with you. And you manage that perfectly, because you never seem to get affected by shit. You get as much as, if not more, shit
outwardly. I get angry very easily. People know me, that I get upset. I've recently, the Miami traffic is just notoriously terrible. People are just cutting you off, and I've come to follow people and scream at them now, just as a release. Whenever they cut me off, I'm on a motorcycle, I just go, hey, what are you doing? Hey, or in Spanish, oh yeah, que tu haces? No tiene ojo. In my very fucked Cuban accent. But outwardly, I don't like to do that. But inwardly, it's still there, just clawing at me. But I've been better at mitigating it, I guess, when it comes to what I project on video.
Well, you do a great job of projecting it. So
I'm glad.
Yeah. So we've talked about releasing product with other magic companies. We've talked about Illusionist. Let's talk about the PigCake Academy. Now, that's been around for a long time. It's an incredible deal. What made you decide to set that up? Was that a case of, hey, I want to make my living doing magic. YouTube is great, but you and I both know you're never going to be a millionaire unless you are, pulling in way more views than you and I do. Was it
Ramsey views?
Yeah, right.
You're getting that puzzle view, dude. That guy's out here balling out of control. He's like, hey, I just made a spaceship, dudes. I'm like, what? From puzzle videos? Fuck. I'm kind of jealous. Can you tell?
Yeah, I need to go and stick some more Rubik's Cube videos on my channel. I'll tell you that.
I'll tell you, you'll get some views if you stick them somewhere.
So what made you where did the academy come from, and how did it start? Because you were one of the first online platforms to do that sort of stuff.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of them now. There's the Illusionist streaming doodah,
Christian Grace.
Christian Grace, the Netrix. There's
Yeah, yeah.
there's tons of them. But you were the OG. You were, I think, the first person to.
Well, on Patreon, yes. I didn't set up a different platform. I just thought that Patreon was a good home for it. It was well known in the general populace, I guess, outside of Magic, and they do a good job promoting within the app also, which is another reason why I chose them to kind of go and build this platform, or build this series of videos, for lack of a better term. But money, man, money runs everything, unfortunately. And if it was up to me and I would be able to do it without having the need for that, I'd fucking do it that way. And that's not just an exaggeration, because obviously from the money I'm making there, it's not crazy. It is, nice to have, but obviously it's not entirely livable, what I'm doing there. But that kind of proves that I'm doing it just for the love of it. And the academy came from just, I wanted to have a place where people could come. It's a beginner. You know nothing about card tricks. You come in, and I have what I would have loved to have seen when I was younger, growing up with Magic. You could click on whatever videos you want. You could learn from specific videos. You could start from the beginning and, learn from how to pick a deck, to how to hold a deck, to, basic sleights and things like that, what I would have wanted. And selfishly, it's kind of my brain, because I'm terrible when it comes to memory. So I wanted to put everything that I know on that, obviously behind, paywall. But I wanted to put at least everything that's in my head related to Magic in some way there for people to be able to watch. So any moves, any sleights, anything that I've ever come up with, or little brain farts, I want to put there on the academy. And so far it's grown to, I believe, more than 1,400 videos so far that we have there on the academy, from, coin stuff, card stuff, mentalism. And what makes me happy is, again, the feedback that I've gotten from people that have joined that aren't magicians, which is odd, because I can't imagine the conversion of that being so as high as I thought. But, my stuff has reached a certain generic or general population on YouTube, and enough to the point where they're willing to actually, give me some money and check out the academy. And those are the ones that really interest me, because these are people that have no idea about anything with Magic. And then they send me a video of them, doing a double lift or learning the stuff. They're like, oh, I've never thought of this before. I've never done this. And it's through the academy. I'm like, what the fuck? That's, yeah, eye-opening.
There's people getting Magic because of joining that. That's great, right? That must fill you with joy.
Yeah, it makes me so happy, man. It really does. And granted, from what I was saying earlier, it is, people have told me annoying amount of times now that I undervalue it, and that I should be, at least stepping up in terms of, hey, charge this much for that, charge that much for that. And I'm a stubborn idiot, and I say no. The first tier on the academy is $1, and that's, you get like maybe 500 videos from that alone that I'm always adding to. So it's not just that, for $1. And then I don't even get all of that, because Patreon takes a cut, taxes take a cut. So I'm getting essentially nothing from that. But I put that there just because, hopefully, number one, that upsells people for the higher tiers, but also because fuck it. It's what I would have wanted. I would have wanted something like that. That's very affordable, and still something that's always updated. It's not just something that's stagnant. And, oh, here's a repository of videos. It's never updated ever again. Every week I'm always adding stuff to it, just ideas, moves, tricks, routines. So it's really grown to a place where I'm really happy, and I want to keep growing it. It's primarily my main focus as of what I'm doing in terms of Magic. YouTube is there, but I'm always thinking more as to lessons for the academy and who I could get. And maybe this is a good time to ask you if I could possibly book you for some sort of talk to talk about maybe the financial aspect and the as far as what you do with hiring magicians and
yeah, I'll do anything for you at any point. Just say the word. Let me know what you
well, hey, Craig, not live on a show here, but I'm always trying to see how I could up and give people more value for the money they give me, because ultimately, if you're giving me money, I'm going to care a lot about what you do, I'm going to care a lot about how you perceive that. So when it comes to the academy, I really want to give people as much bang for their buck as I possibly can, even at my expense.
That's amazing. Well, yeah. Let me know what you want. Let me know when you want it, and I'll be there in a heartbeat, man. It's the least I can do.
That's great. Okay. Because you sorry, not to I just want to keep blowing you metaphorically here, but because you have just this, you've amassed not only in terms of as of late, you've really been killing it with putting out products. And when you first left the community, sorry, look at me, the first rule of putting stuff out is you should turn your phone off, but I'm violating it. But when you left Magic, it really, at least because I was a huge fan of yours from the Wizard product review. I remember I would watch it with my non-Magic, brother, and I'd put the show on and would always laugh at your fucking rants about shit and just your tirade. I love that episode where they counted how many times you shilled Chop.
Oh my God, yes.
It's like the Chop radar every time it comes out. So I've always been a huge fan of that. And when you left, there was a kind of a void, and you were putting out products too as well. And there was a void in that. And then now you just come back and you said, fuck it. I'm going to put everything out. I'm going to put out with every company. I'm going to masterclass. Boom. Here's a fucking salt shaker that turns solid. All these crazy shits. So it's great to see that. And I think you have just this world of experience that people could really learn from. And that's more valuable, I think, than here's my take on the fucking diminishing lift sequence. Because that's where people actually make, that Magic financially viable as a living. That's where people have the connections and make those connections. And even the work that you do as far as booking magicians and that process, I think that's also another thing. So there's a lot rattling in there.
My companies do somewhere around the region of 22,000 events a year.
Yeah, that's a little bit nuts, I would say. That's kind of inflated, maybe. I don't know if people have told you that, but that's a lot.
That's actually the figure. That's
okay. Oh gosh, Jesus,
really,
that's giving me anxiety.
Is. And I always point people to anybody who works within my company and ask them. We have hundreds of events going on almost every day. Yeah,
I met a couple in Blackpool. They were very gracious as far as how crazy it is that you put them to work immediately. Like, hey, here's that opportunity, here's a gig, boom, get to it. But 22,000, that's a lot more than I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and yet you're still just shitting out content on YouTube constantly and managing that. It's kind of nuts. So I would love to nail you down for that and at least have your work on the financial aspect of it. It's good to ask you live on your show.
Talk about everything and anything. Absolutely. You got it. Anything financial or whatever you want me to talk about.
But I bring that up because I recently had Kristen Grace on, and Kristen Grace is another one. And it's interesting that you mentioned that the thing about platforms and stuff, because it's everyone has one now. So it's really interesting to see what the differences are in terms of what people provide as far as, oh, here's my behind a paywall content that you could get. I've seen a lot of magicians doing sleight of hand specifically. A lot of Korean magicians are doing Patrons for very specific moves, and you have a niche within that. Kristen Grace, his Magic Monthly is great in terms of just these. He could sell every one of the things that he puts there as a separate download, but this he decides to go, no, fuck it, I'll just put it on this. The Netrix is I've seen that you've been killing it with that recently. You're getting a lot of people on that too. A lot of big names in the industry.
Yeah. There's a lot of Christians on there, and Lloyd, and Justin Miller, Adam Wilbur. It's like basically the home for Illusionist.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you worked at Illusionist, hey, maybe I should put a
thing. Come on over, man.
Fuck it. No, but what's interesting there too is that I've at least heard from magicians that I've talked to that have put money into these platforms. Dude, they're putting in money to these platforms like fucking Netflix, like Hulu, like to them. Oh yeah, I spent $100 a month on magic services for these individual magicians. So it's not like there's competition. There's a market there. That's an interesting thing. There's still a market there. And I know I a couple of people that kind of treat it as a competitive thing, but there's space. There's plenty of space there in that particular demo, but it's just another example as to how far we've come, that you could independently come up with all these things. You couldn't have done this in 2004, 5, 6, 7, 8. You couldn't independently release shit. You had to work with a magic company. You had to release it through, sign your life away, say, oh, well, fuck it. 90%. Is this what you guys usually? All right. I guess 10% is enough to pay the light bill, But now you could just say, fuck it. I'm going to put this out on my own. And, you have an audience. Might as well.
And the cool thing is now with technology, well, this is a good thing and a bad thing. The good thing is anybody who's creative that doesn't want to go through a company can just set up a camera, film something, edit it together very, very simply, and put it out there, and it'll look like a professional download. That's the positive, so that people like Kyle Purnell, people like David Jonathan can put stuff out without going through a company. The negative is any fucking idiot can put something out. And I remember the late, great Scott Alexander, who was one of my favorite magicians of all time. I remember when I interviewed him a couple of years ago before he passed away. And he said he used to fucking hate this. He was like, oh, I hate the fact that there's so many brain farts being released to the magic community. He said, I'm willing to bet that there's products out there, there's downloads out there on things like the Penguin Partner Program, where somebody woke up in the morning with an idea. They kind of fleshed it out over breakfast. They then went and filmed it before lunch, edited it, stuck it up on the Penguin Partner Program, and they were having people download it and making money from it before they went out for beers on the evening. Like, there are people out there that are doing that. And the amount of shit magic downloads that are going out there because there's a bunch of idiots that think that they can create and release magic, whilst in actual fact they can't, because there's people out there like you that come into magic and they put creators up on pedestals. And it's like, oh, I want to be the Greg Wilson. I want to be the Jay Sankey. I want to be the Bill Malone, whatever it may be. And they want to take shortcuts to get there. They don't want to do what Jay and Richard Sanders and all these people, they don't want to do that, what they did. They want to skip the steps and go straight to the pedestal themselves. And so with no research and no effort and no time and no nothing, they just come up with a shitty idea and they stick it up there. And it looks decent because of technology and because of a flashy trailer that they've done on iMovie. They have people buying their thing. And the problem then becomes that a lot of the people that buy those downloads are new people coming into magic, because it's cheap and it's accessible, it's affordable, and it's instant gratification. You see that flashy trailer, it's $5. I'll drop $5 on that. They then watch it. It's a shit trick. It's probably been done before, or it's a shit trick that won't really work, and they haven't actually thought it through because it is a shit trick. Now you've got other magicians who are new into magic that think it's not shit. They're going out and doing it, and it's shit, and we're creating an entire generation of fuckwits.
The golden ratio, my friend, of retardation. I prevented myself from saying it earlier on, but I think I've said it enough where now I could say it out loud. And if you want, you could have your editor beep it. You don't want me.
He won't.
But yeah, no, you're 100% right. But I think in that case, the cream rises to the top. And yeah, there's obviously a mass of these new products just because it's so easy to put content out. But I think what's good, really, if it's really good, it's going to stand out regardless of the sea of shit that it happens to live in. And that, I think you've noticed with a lot of these new names that are up and coming up in magic. And just, man, Illusionist just is working with this ridiculous Brazilian magician, just absurd visual stuff, unbelievable. And I just hate that it's like half my age. You know, in that bar we went to, I believe you were shooting some stuff in that bar in Blackpool. I forgot what the name is. The Russ
Brown's House of Secrets.
Yeah, which sounds like a place where you'd get a, under the table, right? A House of Secrets. But there, these kids that are just, hey, here's $1, here's a straw, boom. Oh, you think it's there? I'm gonna move the straw. Oh, you think it's a magnet? Here's the straw. Take the $1. Just absurd shit like that. And then you realize, oh, how old are you? You're 15 years old. You don't have pubes yet. And you're out here doing this visual crazy. That's the cream that would rise to the top. The one that's not going to rise to the top is the one that set up his phone, aimed at his crotch, didn't even care about putting up a light, or maybe he decides to do reviews that are not biased and put them out on YouTube and release an A-can that sucks, things like that. And specific things like that. I think those stay where they are and rise to the top. You had a kerfluffle with certain magic reviewers.
Every couple of months, I have an argument with somebody. Every couple of months. And people think that I do it on purpose. Oh, Craig's got a new product to sell, so he's going to come up with some other controversy. Yeah. That's right. That's what I do. When I wanted to bring EDC out, I rang Michael Weber and I asked him, can you do me a favor? Can you expose that you've had a fake sock puppet account for the last fucking God knows how many years so that I can create some controversy and sell some more ED seats? Yeah, that was me creating that controversy. Yeah, when I bought out Lucky Lotto, I rang up the guy at Unbiased Magic Reviews and say, excuse me, can you do me a favor? Can you troll me all over the Magic Cafe and put a video up about how I'm an asshole just so I can sell some more shit? Would that be okay? Thanks very much. Yeah, I need some controversy. When Apparition came out, I rang that dickhead at Airship Productions, whatever it was, and I was like, hey Jake, do me a favor, can you say that I'm ripping off Steve Duchek, please, because I really need to sell some more Apparitions. I do not create this controversy, I never do, but every couple of months there's somebody who decides that they want to fuck with my shit.
Isn't it great? I saw, dude, that thread on the Magic Cafe, Apparitions, the salt shaker.
No, that's an entire other kind of wank.
Okay, which is a salt shaker?
The salt shaker was crystallized.
That thread on the Magic Cafe. If you ever want, it doesn't matter if you're a man-ho and you've had nothing but sexual relations for the past 30 years. The moment you read that thread, as I did in its entirety, you lose all of it. My virginity was regained immediately. I didn't know what a woman looked like. I didn't know the shape. From reading that thread and seeing the back and forth.
I know,
and
threads on the cafe, dude. The quantum deck was 60 pages long. ED 70 pages long. Every single time I release a product, the shit is going to hit the fan. I know it is. It always does.
Well, and then again, the thought is, Craig is going to manufacture this situation just for to actually get some publicity to release the trick. Meanwhile, the trick is already sold out. There's already sold however many it's going to sell. And then definitely that's exactly why he's doing it. People are just you can fill in the blank there.
Yeah, you can fill in the blank. Absolutely
ridiculous.
Oh man, yes, but before we get onto the playing cards, tell everybody how they can join the PigCake Academy and tell everybody how much the different tiers are.
Well, on the Academy, it's through Patreon. I link it on every video. I shill it probably nonstop more than I tell my mom I love you. And I think it's fairly reasonable in terms of price. It's $1 for what I call the piggybacker tier, which is they're not necessarily specific videos, they're just tutorials that I don't put anywhere else. The Academy portion is $5, and you get access to probably 1,200 videos on card and coin stuff, which I say that with that face because saying it out loud just reinforces the fact that I could probably charge more for it. But it's there. It's pretty much everything that I know about Magic, the card stuff, the coin stuff. The mentalism is a little bit more expensive. It's $10. And then I also have some consultation tiers that are higher up, $20 and $50, which I think is also extraordinarily cheap. If you want to get consulted for whatever reason, I've talked to people about different shows, different ideas for specific tricks. Problem solving is what we've had over the years. And also creative process. A lot of people have a question as to how you could, sit down and force creativity and ways to do that. So it's been ultimately successful there. But again, I think very undervalued, as I keep being told. And anyone that joins, I'm always just elated whenever people give me feedback from looking at the videos. Again, just card tricks. And it just, to me, it's insane that I have people from all over the world, praising just simple stuff like card tricks.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, $5 is ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous. Whoever's told you it's too cheap, they are right.
I'm very dumb. I'm dumb. That's the thing. It's like, oh, hey, man, you could be making way more than that. I have a couple of financial buddies that are like, they're aware of like building campaigns, like social media campaigns. And they're like, well, you're dumb. You know that, right? You could have just upped it a little bit. And if enough, you probably make up for it. I'm like, I know that, but I'm stubborn. And I go, no, this is what I charge. Take it. So.
Oh, wow. It's best deal in Magic. Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. Which brings us on to, I should do a drum roll or something here, the missing piece playing cards.
From the missing piece playing cards.
Which is currently up on. I've got the actual Kickstarter page up in front of me at the moment. A wonderful picture of you in a kitchen in a chef's
Yeah,
hat.
very creepy. Shot in what has to be a kitchen that I'm sure I got an STD from.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Up there.
Pretty sure that's the case. And I love the first line. The missing piece playing cards are the first deck produced by the world famous YouTube magic tutorial superstar PigCake.
Oh, could you tell the
social isolation and practicing card tricks have culminated in the need to fulfill a childhood desire to publish and release a deck of playing cards, and here they are. You want to talk to us about these, man, because these look sexy. If people have gone over to Kickstarter, and I have pledged, I am excited about getting my cards. They look sexy as hell. Tell us about them. Where did this come from, and why should people back the project?
Well, this obviously is a necessity. I think anyone that does magic at some point would like to put out a deck of cards, out there. And when I was younger, the first deck of cards that I ever had was it was like a Hoyle deck that I still have, believe it or not. And the cards are bent because of how often I use them. And cards are really the thing that most people initially get once they get into magic, because they're readily affordable. They're, everywhere in every part of the world. So typically people get into card tricks. And one of those childhood dreams that I've always had is to have a deck of fucking playing cards, and it's one of those things that it took longer than I wanted to. Unfortunately, I've had essentially the prototype since 2019. But things happen. The artist with me and I delayed them till now, and I recently released them, and it's just a fulfillment of a childhood dream to be able to put these cards out. And luckily, through the advance of technology, we have platforms like Kickstarter, where essentially these cards could be crowdfunded, and the fact that there's a possibility, that when the cards actually get produced, that people could actually touch and be with my playing cards, and I see them in videos using these cards. It's just, I can't even get my mind wrapped around that concept. So, I obviously want to put it out there. There's, as far as what we have, I want this to be kind of like a deck that I could build upon in the future. So there's a bunch of other colorways planned for this deck. I'm actively working on another deck behind the scenes. That's going to be a new deck past this one. That's a marked deck. But this first one, I just want to make something that's just reflective of, what I like. It makes sense. My logo is a cake, and the missing piece of that cake is what's on these playing cards, which is why I called them that. And I also, one thing that annoys me, I don't know if this annoys you, Craig, but whenever you look at like cards and the courts are like, oh, this one's David Blaine, this one's Peter Turner, this one's, I don't know why that bothers me irrationally. So I didn't put that in this deck. Right, my face isn't on these. Every single other deck of cards, I remember for like 2 years when people were putting them out, it's like, oh, over here it's Doug McKenzie, and then this card is, and it's like, all right, dude, I get it. I didn't have that with my deck. I just wanted to. That's just a little rant on that particular design choice, but I mean, it's definitely a very simple bare bones deck, but it's mine, and I'm ecstatic for the possibility of having a successful campaign.
And this video is going up on Saturday. It's currently Tuesday evening here, and we've got 15 days to go. So we're going to have just under 2 weeks to go. As of the time of doing this interview, you're just over halfway through reaching your goal. You got $9.5 grand goal sterling, and you've hit 5,120. The goals are very reasonable, man. I mean, they really are. I mean, I've backed a lot of stuff on Kickstarter in the past, and you can get one deck for just $13, 2 decks for about $6.
The market's changed a lot, especially from when I was going to put them out initially, and just dealing with different things. But obviously, there's a money to be made from this particular endeavor. But I think everything is reasonably priced, especially compared to what I've seen out there. And for it being a deck of cards that's just a normal bare bones deck, I think it's fairly reasonable. The actual finish of the cards is another thing that I'm still iffy on, but so far it's probably going to be USPC produced. If we happen to reach a certain amount of funding, I'll consider the wonderful Cardamundi finish on the cards. I remember in Magi Fest, having a pleasant conversation with Juris from Cardamundi, where I was very demolished, and I gave him a deck of knockoff Cardamundi playing cards, which he found very humorous. So it's just a fun thing, and I'm glad to be able to have, again, a platform where people are willing to buy the playing cards and willing to support me in this endeavor. And if it comes to be, then it's another dream I could essentially check off on.
And I love that one of the goals is personal delivery. I'm seriously considering pledging that. If I pledge $10,000 and I'm considering it,
yeah,
I'm going to get personal delivery to my residence, including a break of the missing piece deck and every item
and whatever.
that's I love that.
I put that there as a bit, as a joke, unless some weird Saudi prince decides to watch my stuff and decides to go 10 grand, that's nothing. Yeah, no, that's real. If you give me 10 grand, I will go to your house and I will give you a deck of playing cards, which I don't know. I just hang around there creepily, just like stand around, but you could be assured that I will deliver everything that comes with that. And everything that comes with that is potentially another stretch goal of a different color, which is the Vaporwave edition.
Look at that. That's beautiful.
Look at that. Miami. Everything is Miami inspired, but this one is a different color that we're hoping to reach as a stretch goal for this particular campaign. But it's interesting, the process too, by the way. I guess that's another thing that I've learned coming up with the prototypes. It's really come a ridiculous long way since putting out a deck of playing cards in the mid 2000s, because then you had to print, essentially you had to go through the process pretty intensely and spend a lot of money to get prototypes made and all this. Make playing cards. You could get really nice finished playing card prototypes made for nothing, and then work on different card designs, and it's just they deliver it to your house in like 2 weeks for competent playing cards. And also, it's just crazy to how far we come for that, just as far as prototyping a deck and coming up with the ideas and all the other stuff. But again, a childhood, dream. I think as a magician, there's a couple of things that I still want to knock off. One is I want to do lectures. As a teacher, it makes sense. I really want to have a lecture. The other one is, I guess, a product. And then one of the main ones is a deck of cards. So again, I asked you if I could come on your podcast and show the cards. But it's still one of those things that, even if you don't, again, I'm still grateful to the fact that I tried. If it funds, then people get their hands on the missing piece deck of playing cards. It's a wonderful thing for me, and it's hopefully going to be a deck that people enjoy and come back to, especially with other colors.
It's great. It's fantastic. And as I say, I don't know if I'm going to go for the 10 grand option, but I'm getting back.
I would advise against it, but just know that I would be committed to showing up at your residence awkwardly. That's
why I'm considering doing it. That's right there. Why? I was going to ask you one last question, but you kind of blew your load on that. But I'm going to try and expand on it, which is what's next. You have achieved a lot. You really have achieved a lot over the 20 odd years you've been in magic. The PigCake Academy is huge. Your brand is very well known. Especially over here in the UK, the amount of people who know who PigCake is and follows you regularly is just insane. You've killed YouTube. You really have. And obviously now you've got the Kickstarter. You can have your own deck of cards, which was a big goal. I know we've mentioned bringing out a product through a company at some point. And you talked about touring with a lecture, maybe, pensions and so on and so forth. Outside of that, is there anything left on your magical bucket list that you haven't hit that you would like to do?
Death. I mean, I think that'd be kind of cool, right? Just, dude, he's dead, man. PigCake is gone. No, but as far as that, I want to push the things that I'm working on. I have other ambitions, obviously, but as far as that, I'm not one that I want to have a show on TV. I don't want to have, I'm happy where I'm at. And if I could kind of push this to more, I would say, individuals that enjoy my style of content, enjoy, potentially getting a deck like this, the Academy and all that stuff. I really want to work and ground those as much as I possibly can, rather than having hey, let me have my name on a marquee somewhere. I'd rather have that and work on that as much. So as far as what's next is just, working on this stuff, adding as much as I possibly can, giving people the most value I can, and just giving them the most me. So it's also fairly challenging with that with YouTube, because YouTube is one of those things that, yes, you have those videos that hit, and then you have some that are just that you work on and you're like, oh man, I put so much effort and time into this one and it didn't necessarily hit what I wanted to. But getting past that and things like that is, I guess, what sets me apart from others. I really want to keep at that regardless of how many people are watching. I'm just not going to stop doing that, because it really does bring me a set of satisfaction. And I know that the people that enjoy that content, I know that they enjoy it. So I'm not going to stop. You could try and stop me, YouTube, but I'm not going to stop.
But you know what? The people that don't know YouTube and don't understand YouTube like you do, it can be one of the most frustrating things in the world. The amount of times I've sat there thinking, I'm going to quit this shit. I don't want to do this anymore. And it becomes almost like a drug. Like, no, I can't quit. I've got to keep going. I'm going to keep putting that content out there. And, going back to the magic community, one thing that I get told all the time is, Craig doesn't care about the magic community. He's doing YouTube just to make the big bucks. Yeah, okay. Okay, yeah. My subscriber count, which is,
let me show you. Let me bust out how much I make on YouTube a month making dick jokes. Because I get the same thing, like, oh yeah, no, he's just shilling it for money. It's estimated revenue on YouTube for the past 28 days is $108.
Exactly.
So that's the fun lifestyle.
People don't know. They don't get. I wish they did. It's hard work to be as consistent as you have been for the length of time that you have done it, to build up the audience that you have. My God. Well, how many people start with a bang and they go, yeah, I'm going to do my own YouTube channel. This is going to be amazing. And you see them put a video out every single day and it gets virtually no views. And then they don't put a video up for 2 weeks. And then they put a video up going, sorry, I've not been around for 2 weeks. I've been busy, but now I'm going to be back and I'm posting video. And then you don't see anything for like 6 months. And then they put like a video up of them just performing at a restaurant somewhere. And it's just like, okay, yeah, you've given up then, motherfucker. It's really...
Well, it's a passion. It's more of a passion. You really have to have that. I mean, YouTube obviously is never a viable means of supporting yourself. It's a supplementary thing, if at that. But unless you're really getting, again, those fucking them puzzle views, baby. Hitting up. Yo, Ramsey built a spaceship. Okay, that's what you could get if you make puzzle videos. But so YouTube is not really a barometer for a measure. The money they make on YouTube, I don't think overall for most people is an accurate measure, but it's just a realistic thing that you have to come to agree with, especially if you choose to make the content that I do, which is immediately demonetized every single video, just immediately. I get the yellow thing every time. It's wonderful.
Oh man, yeah, that demonetized sign, you don't want to see that ever, do you?
Oh God, I'm so used to it. Every single video is just like, oh, you know that your videos, and then I rate it right, and I don't even curse in the video, but they just say no, you're getting it. Even on videos that I don't even say anything, that I'm just like, hey, there's no jokes, it's a serious video. Bam, yellow piss stain. Boom, got him. It's great. I love it. Keeps me alive, man.
Living the dream. Living the dream. PigCake, you are an absolute legend. And I thank you so much for coming on and shilling your cards and telling us all about your story. And honestly, in amongst we've had a laugh on this interview, but go back and listen to what PigCake was saying. There's some incredible advice here. And I want everybody who's watched this interview to do two things. The first thing I want you to do is go and back the Kickstarter. That's number one. It doesn't cost very much. The link's down below. These cards are as sexy AF. You want to back the Kickstarter. Number two, if you don't already, subscribe to PigCake on YouTube, go on Instagram, follow him on Instagram, do all that fun stuff. And then finally, and most importantly, go and become a member of the PigCake Academy. You're telling me you can't afford $5 a month. You can't afford $5 a month. Are you fucking kidding me? Go and spend your $5 a month and get access to your 1,200 videos before this guy wakes up, smells the coffee, and realizes he's massively undercharging for his shit. You may as well get access to it before he gets a cold hard dose of reality smacking him around the face.
Or before I end up on a Netflix documentary.
That or both. Yeah.
Yeah, that could be it. Like, oh, we all saw the warning signs of that PigCake. But thank you, Craig. I really do appreciate it. I'm eternally grateful that you allowed me to show my stuff and ask me about my life. I always love talking about myself. It's one of my favorite things to do. And for you to give me a platform to do that, it's definitely appreciated.
This platform is yours to use anytime you want to. And also, get me on the PigCake Academy. I'll talk about money. I'll talk about business. I'll talk about business growth. I'll talk about marketing. I'll talk about promotion. I'll talk about anything you want me to talk about.
Oh, well, I guess we're going to have a post-interview discussion then, my friend.
Sounds good. Guys, do me a favor. Leave a comment down below. Let PigCake know what you thought. Do all of that stuff that I said earlier. I'm going to be back again very soon with another video. But guys, on behalf of PigCake, thank you so much for checking out this Talk Magic interview. I'll see you again soon. I'm Craig. He's PigCake. Thanks very much.